My son shocked me during a walk with a truth I never imagined. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. Mom, Dad says I'm not your son on paper. Noah said it while we walked the creek trail behind our neighborhood, like he was confessing he forgot homework. The air smelled like wet leaves and cold mud, and my hand was still wrapped around a coffee that had gone lukewarm. I stopped so hard my shoe dragged a line through the gravel. What do you mean, not your son? I asked, keeping my voice gentle the way you do around a skittish animal. He swallowed. He said there's paperwork, that you didn't finish something. And if I tell you, you'll get mad and then he'll lose me. That last part hit like a physical shove. Mark always sounded reasonable in front of other people. Calm co-parent, mature adult, the guy who ended every text with, "Let's keep things civil for Noah." But Noah's face wasn't the face of a kid who'd had a civil conversation. I crouched so we were eye level. "Noah, you're not in trouble. You can tell me anything." His eyes watered, and he blinked hard like he hated himself for it. He made me promise. He said the judge will decide soon. And he said I should start calling you Dana when we're around certain people. My heart started pounding so loud I couldn't hear the creak anymore. Certain people was the kind of phrase adults use when they're coaching kids. I forced my breathing to slow. "Did Dad show you anything? A letter? A text? A form?" Noah shook his head, then hesitated, then nodded like his body was arguing with itself. "There's a phone," he whispered. "He gave it to me. He said it's for emergencies." A second phone. I stared at my son, trying to keep my face steady while my brain sprinted through every custody horror story I'd ever read at 2 a.m. "Where is it, sweetheart?" Noah glanced back toward the trail entrance like someone might be following us. "In my backpack, and it's recording right now, I think." Then Noah said one sentence that made my stomach drop completely. We kept walking because Noah's shoulders were tight, and he kept looking around like the trees had ears. This trail was our reset button. Ever since the divorce, I'd been obsessive about routines. Wednesday tacos, Friday movie night, morning check-ins where I asked him to rate his stress from 1 to 10. I wasn't perfect, but I was present. And Mark had always praised that in public while quietly undermining it at home. The weird detail I'd ignored for months was how Noah started flinching at notifications. Not loud sounds, not shouting, just the soft ding of a message. I chalked it up to middle school drama. Kids get anxious. Life is messy. But then I remembered the emergency phone thing from last month. Noah had come back from Mark's with a brand new backpack and a grin that looked forced. Dad said I needed better stuff for school, he'd told me. Mark had texted me right after, got him supplies. Don't overthink it. He always wrote like I was hysterical by default. On the trail, I said softly, "Noah, does the phone have an app you don't understand?" He nodded without looking at me. He said it's a memory app, so I can remember important things. "Like what you say?" My mouth went dry. "What I say?" Noah's fingers picked at the strap of his hoodie until his knuckles went pale. He said grown-ups lie later. So we need proof. He said it's not spying if it's for court. Court. I tried to swallow and realized my throat had locked up. "Did he tell you what to record?" Noah's voice dropped even lower. "When you get mad. When you cry. When you talk about money. And when you say you don't like him." I almost laughed because it was so absurd. I didn't get mad the way Mark implied. I got tired. I got overwhelmed. I cried once in the laundry room when the dryer died and I couldn't afford a new one. I was human. I stopped beside a bench and held his shoulders. "Listen to me. You didn't do anything wrong." Noah finally looked at me. "If you take the phone, he'll know. He'll get nice. That's scary nice." I knew exactly what he meant. Mark's nice was a weapon with clean edges. When we got home, Noah hovered by his room like a guard. "Promise you won't text him yet," he pleaded. "I promise," I said, and I meant it, because first I needed facts. Noah unzipped his backpack with shaking hands and pulled out a slim black phone wrapped in a rubber case. The screen lit up with a single notification. "Upload successful, 12 files synced." I tapped the notification, and the app opened to a list of recordings. The list made my vision narrow, like I was looking through a tunnel. File names, timestamps, dates. It wasn't random. It was organized. 10_03, kitchen argument. 10_17, Dana crying. 11_02, Dana says, "I can't do this." 11_18, Dana talking about Mark. I didn't remember half of those moments as arguments. But the app didn't care about truth. It cared about framing. Noah, I said carefully, did you start these recordings? He shook his head so fast his hair bounced. He did. He showed me. He said to press the red circle when you start. And did you? Noah's face crumpled. Sometimes. I didn't want to. But he'd ask me after. He'd say, did you get it? And if I said no, he'd get quiet and stare at me like I ruined something. That sentence hurt more than any recording could. It wasn't just custody games. It was conditioning. I clicked one file, my hand shaking. It played a muffled audio clip of me in the kitchen saying, Noah, please put the cereal away. We talked about ants. Then Noah's voice. Okay. Then silence, until my voice again, tired. I'm not mad. I'm exhausted. I sounded like me. A mom. A person trying. But then the clip cut abruptly, and the app labeled it. Dana, angry. My stomach turned. I scrolled further. There were uploads to a cloud account with a generic email, Northbridge Familacase at, and a share link that ended in a string of numbers. I took screenshots like my life depended on it, because it might. Noah watched me with panic. He said if you find it, you'll take me away from him. No, I said too quickly. I softened it. Noah, nobody is taking you away from anyone tonight. We're safe. We're just getting help. His eyes flicked toward the hallway like Mark might appear there, despite the fact Mark lived 30 minutes away. Fear doesn't follow logic. I did the only thing I could think of. I put the phone in airplane mode and set it face down on the table like it was radioactive. Then I opened my email and searched Noah and consent and meeting. A thread popped up from the school dated October 1st, subject line, student support plan, signature confirmed. I didn't remember signing anything on October 1st. I clicked the email and saw a PDF attachment named Dana_Harper_consent. PDF with a signature that looked like mine, if someone copied it from a grocery receipt. My hands went numb. Noah whispered. He said you already agreed. I stared at the forged signature, then at my son's terrified face, and realized I wasn't dealing with a misunderstanding. I was dealing with a plan. Then my phone buzzed with a message from Mark. We need to talk tonight. Mark's timing felt like a cold finger tracing my spine. His text arrived at 6:12 p.m., the exact minute Noah usually started homework. Mark knew our rhythm. He'd spent years learning it, and now he was using it like leverage. I didn't respond. I kept my promise to Noah. Instead, I printed the PDF from the school email and laid it next to the second phone. 2 pieces of paper, 2 kinds of betrayal, digital and ink. I zoomed in on the signature. The D in Dana had the same loop mine had, but the pressure was wrong, like someone practiced it. And the date box had been typed, not written. Noah sat at the table twisting a rubber band around his fingers. Am I in trouble with the school? No, I said. You're not in trouble with anyone. Adults are supposed to protect you, not recruit you. His shoulders sagged, like he'd been holding that weight alone for months. I called the school's main office and asked for Ms. Rivera. My voice sounded normal, which felt insane. The receptionist said she'd gone home. I left a voicemail. It's Dana Harper. Please call me tonight. It's urgent. About Noah and a consent form. Then I checked Noah's backpack again. Under the math folder was a thin envelope stamped with the school logo. Inside was a single-page note. Reminder, parent meeting scheduled October 18th, 3:30 p.m. Mark Harper confirmed attendance. I hadn't been at any October 18th meeting. I'd been on a 12-hour shift at the clinic front desk, my unimportant job, as Mark liked to call it when he wanted to belittle me. Noah's voice was barely a whisper. He took me out of class that day. He said it was therapy, but it was in the conference room. A conference room at school, a forged consent form, a secret recording phone. It all connected into something too coherent to be accidental. At 7:04 p.m., Mark called. I watched the name glow on the screen and let it ring out. It went to voicemail. Then another text. Dana, don't make this harder. Noah deserves stability. Stability. The word abusers use when they mean control. Noah stared at my phone like it was a bomb. If you don't answer, he'll come here. Then he can stand on the porch, I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. He doesn't get to scare you anymore. I opened the second phone again, still on airplane mode, and explored settings. Under Accounts, I found the cloud login email. Under Shared Users, there was a contact labeled Kim, counsel. Attorney Kim. Mark had a lawyer already. Of course he did. I pulled up my co-parenting app messages and searched for court. Nothing. Mediation. Nothing. Mark had kept everything off record, the way he always did when he was doing something he didn't want traceable. Then I found the app's upload history. It listed where each file had been sent. One destination was the cloud account. The other was a phone number labeled only M. I copied the number into my contacts and my chest tightened when the name auto-filled. Ms. Rivera. The next morning, Ms. Rivera called me, and her first words weren't an apology. I need you to listen carefully, Ms. Rivera said, voice low and controlled. And I need you not to confront anyone at the school today. My stomach clenched. Why is your number on my son's secret phone? There was a pause long enough that I could hear her breathing. Then, because someone gave it to me, and I didn't know it was a secret phone. Anger flashed hot in my chest. Someone? Mark? Yes, she said. He requested support services for Noah back in late September. He told us you were aware and on board. I stared at the forged consent form. I wasn't. My signature was forged. Dana, she said, sounding like she'd made a decision. I suspected something wasn't right, but I didn't have enough. Noah's behavior shifted sharply. He started using adult phrases. He asked me if emotional instability counts as neglect. My mouth went dry. Those were Mark's words, not Noah's. Ms. Rivera continued. Mark said Noah needed a safe place to document concerns. He framed it as protection. I told him we don't coach children to collect evidence against parents. So why are you on the phone? I demanded, hating how sharp I sounded. Because Noah started calling me from it, she said quietly. Not to tattle. To ask if he was a bad kid. My throat tightened. He called you. Yes, she said. Twice. Once on October 18th after the conference room meeting. Once on November 2nd. Both times he sounded terrified. He kept saying, I'm trying. I'm trying. I pictured my son alone with a grown man's legal strategy sitting on his shoulders and felt sick. Ms. Rivera's voice hardened. Dana, I need you to come in today, but not through the front office. Use the side entrance by the counselor wing. Bring the phone. Bring the PDF. Do not text Mark. What about the fact my son's recordings were being uploaded? I asked. To a lawyer? Another pause. That's what I need to talk to you about. There's more than recordings. I gripped my kitchen counter until my fingers ached. More like what? Ms. Rivera exhaled. Noah told me Mark is trying to have you declared unfit, and he's using a document that isn't just a school form. What document? I demanded. I haven't seen it, she said. But Noah described it. He said it had your name, a notary stamp, and the words voluntary guardianship. My vision blurred. That's not real. I don't know, Ms. Rivera said. But I know Noah believed it. He believed you signed him away. Noah walked into the kitchen then, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He took one look at my face and froze. What happened? He asked. I ended the call and knelt beside him. Sweetheart, I'm going to the school. With you. He shook his head, panic rising. If we go together, he'll know I told. I brushed his hair back. He already knows something. But we're done being scared. Noah's voice cracked. Mom, he said the meeting is Monday. The judge thing. Monday was 3 days away, and I hadn't been served a single court paper. That meant Mark was either bluffing or hiding it. Then Noah pulled out his homework folder, and a stamped envelope fell out. The envelope wasn't from school. It was from the county courthouse. Noah stared at it like it might bite him. Dad said it was junk mail. He said not to show you. My hands shook as I flipped it over. My address was printed cleanly, but the delivery stamp said it had been rerouted, like someone had intercepted it first. Inside was a notice. Emergency custody hearing. Petition for temporary sole custody. Date. Monday, 9 a.m. Mark was listed as petitioner. My name was spelled right. My address was right. The problem was the service section. It claimed I'd been served on November 20th at 3:12 p.m. by personal delivery. I was at work at 3:12 p.m. on November 20th. I could prove it. My time card app logged every clock in with GPS. Noah's face went gray. So it's real. I forced calm into my voice. It's real paperwork. That doesn't mean it's true. He looked at the notice again. It says Soul. That means you won't be my mom. My heart cracked. No, that's not how this works. Nobody erases you from me. He started to cry silently, the way he did when he didn't want to be heard. I pulled him into my arms and held him so tightly he squeaked. Okay. I said into his hair, more to myself than to him. Okay. We're going to be very smart. I didn't confront Mark. I didn't call him. I didn't give him the satisfaction of knowing he'd rattled me. I documented. I took photos of the envelope, the stamps, the hearing notice. I opened my work app and screenshot my time card for November 20th. It showed in 2:58 p.m. Out 11:07 p.m. Location tag Northbridge Family Clinic. Then I went into the second phone and took screenshots of the upload history. Dates and times. File names. The lawyer contact. Ms. Rivera's number. I photographed the upload successful message again because anything digital can disappear. Noah watched me like he was watching someone defuse a bomb. Are you mad at Dad? I'm mad at choices, I said carefully. Not at you. Never at you. At 8:40 a.m., I took Noah to school and used the side entrance like Ms. Rivera said. Her office smelled like mint tea and dry erase markers. She closed the door behind us and looked at Noah first. Thank you for telling your mom, she said softly. That was brave. Noah's lip trembled. Dad said brave kids don't snitch. Ms. Rivera's eyes flashed. Brave kids tell the truth when adults misuse them. Then she turned to me. Dana, we need legal help now. Not later. I nodded. Attorney Kim? Mark's attorney? Ms. Rivera shook her head. Not Kim. Someone who works for you. I didn't have someone. I had a checking account with a stubborn overdraft fee. Ms. Rivera slid a card across the desk. Attorney Kim. It read, but underneath was a different first name. Avery Kim. Not Mark's lawyer, someone else entirely. Kim is in family advocacy, Ms. Rivera said. They handle emergency hearings when parents are being blindsided. I swallowed. How do you know that? Ms. Rivera's voice dropped. Because Mark asked me to write a letter about your instability. I refused. Then he found someone else who did. My blood went cold. Who? Ms. Rivera glanced at the door like it might open. It's in Noah's file. She clicked her computer, pulled up a record, and turned the screen toward me. There was a scanned letterhead, and my name under the words, Recommendation for Supervised Visitation. Then I saw the signature at the bottom, and I knew exactly whose it was. The signature belonged to a clinician I'd met once, briefly, at a school open house. A family therapist. Mark claimed he'd consulted for co-parenting tips. I thought it was harmless. I'd even been grateful he was trying. The letter was dated November 12th and claimed I displayed emotional volatility, inappropriate dependence on the child, and patterned hostility toward co-parent. It recommended I only see Noah under supervision until I completed stability counseling. It read like a weapon disguised as concern. That's not from me, I said, pointing at the patient participation line that claimed I'd attended sessions. I've never been to this person's office. Ms. Rivera nodded. I know, but the court might not. Noah stared at the letter like it was a verdict. Is that why Dad made me record? So they believe it? I took his hand. Yes, but we're going to show the truth. Ms. Rivera printed the letter and the consent form history. She highlighted an entry on the screen. Parent consent received, October 1st, via electronic signature. The IP address was listed. It didn't match my home internet provider. It matched a mobile carrier, Mark's carrier. There it was, sloppy, technical proof. Then Ms. Rivera showed me Noah's attendance log. October 18th, the day I'd been working, Noah was marked excused for a student support appointment. The sign-out sheet had Dana written in cursive next to reason, counseling. I didn't write it. And Noah wasn't counseled, he was coached. Noah's voice was tiny. He told me to say you yell when you drink wine. I blinked. What? Noah's cheeks flushed with shame. He said it's not lying if it's kind of true. Like you had wine once at Aunt's house. I felt my hands go numb again. Mark wasn't trying to win custody. He was trying to manufacture a narrative. Did he tell you other things to say? I asked. Noah nodded, eyes on the carpet. That you forget meals. That you sleep all day. That you told me you hate being a mom. Each sentence was a knife. Not because I believed them, but because my son believed he had to carry them. Ms. Rivera leaned forward. Dana, the pattern here is coercion. Adults influencing testimony. This is serious. I stared at the documents and my mind clicked into a new mode. Not heartbreak, not panic, strategy. Can you print everything? I asked. With dates, logs, IP addresses, attendance. Any note he submitted. Ms. Rivera nodded. I can. But you need an attorney today. I took the card for Avery Kim and called from the parking lot. It rang twice before a calm voice answered. Law Office of Avery Kim. My name is Dana Harper, I said, trying not to sound like I was falling apart. My ex filed an emergency custody hearing for Monday. I just discovered forged signatures, coerced recordings, and a letter recommending supervised visitation. I have evidence. A beat of silence. Then, can you come in at 2 p.m.? Yes, I said. And Dana, Avery said, voice sharpening. Do not warn Mark. Not even indirectly. I hung up and realized my hands were trembling so hard I almost dropped my keys. When we got home, Noah asked, Are we going to court? Not alone, I said. We're going with someone who understands the rules. Noah nodded slowly. Dad said rules are for people who can't afford lawyers. I looked at my son, 12 years old, already taught that power buys truth, and something inside me hardened. At 1:37 p.m., my doorbell camera sent a motion alert. I opened the live feed. Mark was on my porch, smiling like we were about to share coffee. Then I heard him say, sweetly, Noah, come outside, just you and me. I opened the door, stepping outside before Noah could even move. Mark's smile didn't falter. It never did. Dana, he said, tone warm enough for a commercial. I'm here to pick up Noah early. He forgot his allergy meds at my place. No, I said, flat and simple. His eyes flicked past me into the hallway. Noah, he called, still smiling. Buddy, grab your shoes. Noah froze behind me like he'd been caught stealing. I felt his small hand grip the back of my sweater. Mark, I said, keeping my voice even. We're following the schedule. You can message through the co-parenting app. Mark's jaw tightened for half a second before the mask returned. Why are you being difficult? I'm trying to be responsible. I didn't answer. I just held the doorframe like a boundary you could touch. He lowered his voice. Dana, I know you're upset, but there's no reason to involve the school. My pulse spiked. How do you know I talked to the school? His smile thinned. Because they call parents when they're concerned. And they're concerned. Noah's breathing sped up behind me. Mark's gaze softened in a way that felt rehearsed. Noah, come on. I'm not mad. We're just going to talk in the car. Noah whispered, I don't want to. Mark's eyes flashed, just a flicker of irritation. Then he crouched, like the understanding dad. Buddy, we had an agreement. Noah flinched at the word agreement. I said leave. Now. Mark stood slowly, gaze locking onto mine. The warmth was gone. You think you're being protective, he murmured, but you're proving my point. My point, I echoed. He leaned closer, voice low enough the neighbors wouldn't hear. Unstable, controlling, alienating. His lips curved. Judges hate that. I felt my nails dig into my palm. If you have something to say, put it in writing. Mark straightened, then raised his voice again, cheerful. Okay, just trying to help. Noah, I'll see you soon. He walked back down the steps, then turned at the bottom like he remembered something. Oh, he called casually. Tell Dana not to delete any recordings. Courts don't like that. My blood went ice cold. He knew about the phone. I shut the door and slid the deadbolt, hands shaking. Noah leaned against the wall, eyes huge. He's going to be mad, Noah whispered. He's going to be exposed, I said. At 2 p.m., we sat in Avery Kim's office. Avery listened without interrupting while I laid out the timeline like a crime board. Forged consent form, secret phone, upload logs, the therapist letter, the court notice with false service. Avery didn't gasp. They didn't dramatize. They just said, good. You documented. Then Avery asked the question that made my mouth go dry. Dana, have you ever signed anything giving Mark temporary guardianship? No, I said immediately. Avery nodded, then slid a packet across the desk. Because Mark attached this to his petition. At the top of the page were the words, Voluntary Temporary Guardianship Agreement. And beneath it, my name, my address, and a signature that looked horrifyingly like mine. Noah let out a small, broken sound. Avery tapped the notary stamp. This is either real or a felony. I stared at the stamp, then at the date, September 29th. A day I'd worked a double shift. Avery looked me dead in the eye. Dana, we're going to challenge this immediately. I swallowed. How? Avery's voice was calm, almost gentle. We set a trap. We make Mark repeat his story under oath. Noah whispered, what if he wins? Avery answered before I could. Then we don't let him play alone. Avery started listing what we needed: my time cards, bank location pings, co-parenting messages, my phone GPS, Noah's testimony handled carefully, Ms. Rivera's logs, and a forensic question about the notary. Then Avery said, "I need one more thing." "What?" I asked. Avery pointed to the signature on the guardianship form. "I need to know where you were on September 29th at 4:16 p.m. I opened my calendar app, and my stomach dropped because I wasn't at work then. I was at Mark's house, signing school papers he'd slid across the table while I distractedly talked about Noah's braces. Then I realized I'd signed something that day I never actually read. I could see it like a replay with sharper focus. Mark's kitchen, the smell of lemon cleaner. Noah in the living room, half watching cartoons. Mark pushing a stack of papers toward me like it was nothing. "Just school stuff," he'd said, smiling. "They're switching to digital forms. Can you sign so I can submit everything in one batch?" I'd signed quickly, distracted, trusting the father of my child to not be a monster. Avery didn't scold me. They simply nodded. That's how coercion works. They don't wrestle you into it. They rush you. Noah sat rigid, face pale. "So it's my fault," he murmured. "No," I said fiercely. "Noah, no. This is not your fault. This is not my fault. This is his plan." Avery leaned forward. "Dana, here's the moral dilemma. We can fight quietly and try to settle, or we can expose the pattern to the court and the school. Quiet protects Noah from public mess. Exposure protects Noah from future manipulation." I thought of the second phone recording my life like evidence. I thought of Noah asking Ms. Rivera if he was a bad kid. I said, "Exposure. But safely. For Noah." Avery nodded. "Then we do it correctly." They drafted an emergency motion to contest service and challenge the guardianship document. They requested an immediate continuance and an order preventing Mark from contacting Noah outside the co-parenting app. They also wrote a letter to the school district requesting preservation of records, sign-out sheets, emails, counselor logs, IP addresses. Concrete. Adult. Real. Avery handed me a checklist. "Tonight, you gather your time card logs, phone location history, bank statements showing you were elsewhere when that notary claim happened, and any text where Mark pressures you to keep peace." "And Noah's recordings?" I asked. Avery's eyes narrowed. "Do not delete anything. Turn that phone off and keep it powered down. If it's still uploading, we need to stop that without destroying metadata." Back home, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, pulling up my Google location history. I hated that I had to do this. I hated that my motherhood was being translated into pixels and timestamps. September 29th, for 16 p.m. My location ping showed I was at Mark's address. Fine. But the notary stamp claimed the document was notarized at a bank across town. I checked my bank app. No transactions there. I checked my car's toll records. Nothing. Then I remembered. Mark had insisted we meet at his place because the bank line is always insane. That day, he'd said, "Don't worry about the details. I'll handle it." Handle it. At 9:47 p.m., Ms. Rivera emailed me. "District Legal Counsel has been notified. Records are being preserved." At 10:12 p.m., my doorbell camera pinged again. Mark was back. He wasn't smiling this time. He held something in his hand, an envelope, and he waved it toward the camera like a trophy. Then he looked directly into the lens and spoke clearly, like he wanted the recording. "Dana," he called, "you've been served." My whole body went cold. Avery had warned me about this. False service claims, intimidation, theatrics. But seeing Mark on my porch with that envelope felt like being hunted. I didn't open the door. I watched from the app as he placed the envelope under the doormat, then walked away slowly, like he expected me to break. Noah stood behind me, trembling. "What is it?" I picked up the envelope after Mark left and brought it inside without opening it, like it was contaminated. Then my phone buzzed. A message, through the co-parenting app this time. Mark wrote, "Tomorrow, Noah comes with me. Don't embarrass yourself in court." Avery's voice echoed in my head. "Do not warn him. Make him repeat his story under oath." I texted Avery. He came to my house. Claimed I've been served. "I have video." Avery replied immediately. "Good. Save it. Tomorrow we file, and we set the meeting." I stared at the screen, then at my son. "Noah," I said softly. "Tomorrow you're not going anywhere alone." Noah's voice cracked. He said if I don't go, you'll get arrested. I pulled him into my arms. He's lying to scare you. Noah clung to me and whispered the question that shattered what was left of my denial. Mom, what if Dad doesn't love me? He just wants to win. Then I opened the envelope and saw a document that wasn't for court. It wasn't a court document. It was a glossy brochure from a private youth performance academy with a smiling teen on the cover and a slogan, discipline, achievement, resilience. Inside, a contract was clipped to the brochure. The kind of contract you sign when you're surrendering control. Residential enrollment agreement. Term, 12 months. Location, out of state. My hands went numb. Mark wasn't just trying to take Noah from me. He was trying to move him. Noah peeked over my shoulder and went pale. He said it's a camp. Like, to make me better. Better. My voice came out sharp. I softened it fast. Noah, did he say you needed to be fixed? Noah nodded, shame flooding his face. He said I'm too emotional. That I cry too much. That I'm easy for you to influence. I closed my eyes for a second because rage was a physical thing now, buzzing under my skin. Mark wasn't fighting for Noah. He was reshaping him. I immediately recognized the tactic. If Mark could paint Noah as troubled and me as unstable, then his solution looked heroic. He gets custody, I get supervised visits, and Noah gets shipped away to a place where no one can hear him say, Dad is making me do this. Avery called me at 7:03 a.m. Dana, we're filing an emergency motion for a protective order regarding relocation. I have video of him serving me, I said. And he left a residential program contract. Avery inhaled sharply. That's big. Photograph every page. Don't sign anything. And Dana, he may escalate today. Escalate how? I got my answer at 8:15 a.m. when the school called. The principal's assistant said, Ms. Harper, Mark is here. He says there's an emergency and he's taking Noah. My throat went tight. Noah is not scheduled for pickup today. Yes, but he provided paperwork, she said. He says he has temporary guardianship. The forged guardianship form. The notary stamp. The bank location lie. It was already in motion. I grabbed my keys, heart pounding, and drove like I was trying to outrun time. Noah sat in the passenger seat, knees bouncing, whispering. He's going to be mad. When we reached the school, Mark was at the front office, calm as a news anchor. He looked up and smiled. Dana, he said brightly, like we were meeting for lunch. Perfect. Let's not make a scene. I walked straight to the counter. Do not release my child, I said to the staff, voice shaking but loud. That guardianship document is disputed, and my attorney is filing this morning. Mark's smile tightened. You always overreact. Then he leaned toward Noah, voice syrupy. Buddy, tell them what we practiced. Tell them Mom scares you. Noah's face went blank in that stunned way kids get when their brain is trying to survive. He looked at me, then at Mark, then down at his shoes. Ms. Rivera appeared from the hallway, eyes sharp. She stepped between Mark and Noah like a shield. Noah will come with his mother, she said. Now. Mark's jaw flexed. Ms. Rivera, stay in your lane. Ms. Rivera didn't blink. My lane is child safety. Mark turned to the staff, raising his voice just enough to sound wounded. This is exactly what I mean. Alienation. Instability. I'm trying to help. I felt the room tilt. Mark was performing, and I could see how easily people might believe him. Then my phone buzzed with a notification from Avery. Court clerk confirmed. Hearing moved to 11 a.m. Today? Mark didn't know yet. He thought he had time to corner Noah first. I leaned down to Noah and whispered, You don't have to say anything here. You're safe. Noah's eyes filled. He nodded once. Mark's smile returned, too quick. Fine, he said. We'll let the judge decide. He turned and walked out, still calm. But as he passed me, he whispered, almost lovingly, You have no idea what's already been filed. My blood turned to ice. Avery texted again. Dana, Mark just submitted an exhibit this morning. We haven't seen it yet. I stared at the message until my vision blurred. Then Mark's attorney emailed Avery a file labeled Exhibit A, Audio. Avery met us outside the courthouse, holding a folder so thick it looked like it might split. Dana, they said, we're going to do two things. Challenge the guardianship and show coercion. You stay calm. Noah stays with Ms. Rivera. Ms. Rivera had come as a witness, not a counselor. She carried herself like someone who decided she was done being polite. Noah clung to my hand until the last second, then followed Ms. Rivera into a quiet room Avery had arranged, somewhere away from Mark's eyes. Mark arrived 10 minutes later with a manila envelope and that same clean, controlled face. He wore a navy blazer like he was going to a job interview, not trying to separate a child from his mother. He spotted me and smiled like we were old friends. "Dana, I really hoped you'd come to your senses." Avery stepped forward. "All communication goes through counsel." Mark's smile slipped. "Of course, always so dramatic." Then attorney Kim, Mark's lawyer, a different Kim than mine, walked in with a laptop bag and a smug little nod. They moved like they owned the air. We were called into a small hearing room. The judge was brisk, tired, the kind of person who'd heard every lie and every truth and had no patience left for either. Mark's attorney started. "Your Honor, we have concerns about the mother's emotional stability and the child's well-being. We filed an emergency petition because..." Avery stood. "Before we proceed, we contest service and authenticity of a notarized guardianship document. We also request the court review evidence of coercion and forgery." The judge's eyes sharpened. "Forgery is a serious allegation." "It is," Avery said, "and we have time-stamped evidence." Mark sat very still, hands folded. Calm. Reasonable. The mask. Then Mark's attorney said, "We also have audio recordings demonstrating the mother's volatility." Kim opened the laptop. Exhibit A. My chest tightened as a file loaded. The audio played. It was my voice, strained, upset, saying, "I can't do this. I can't do this, Noah." There was a muffled thump, like something hit the counter. Then Noah's small voice, "Please don't cry." The judge's expression shifted. I knew that moment. It was November 2nd. The dryer had died, and I'd cried in the kitchen while Noah hugged me. It wasn't abuse. It was life. But Kim paused the audio at my, "I can't do this," and said, "Your Honor, the child reports these episodes are frequent." The judge looked at Avery. "Is the child present?" Avery stood. "Noah is present, but will not be questioned without safeguards. Also, Your Honor, that recording was obtained without the mother's consent by a device provided by the father. The child was coached to record, label, and upload moments of normal parental emotion." Mark's head snapped slightly, just a twitch. The first crack. Kim scoffed. "The father only sought to protect." Avery cut in, voice steady. "We have the device. We have upload logs. We have the cloud account. We have the school's IP records showing the mother's signature was forged to initiate support meetings without her knowledge." The judge's eyebrows rose. "School records." Ms. Rivera stood. "I can testify, Your Honor." Mark turned toward her, eyes cold. "You're making a mistake." Ms. Rivera didn't flinch. "No, Mark. I'm fixing one." The judge held up a hand. "One at a time." Avery placed screenshots on the court table, the app's upload history, the file names, the attorney contact list, the dates. They placed my time card logs showing I couldn't have been served when Mark claimed. They placed the school's attendance and sign-out sheet. Then Avery said, "Your Honor, we also have video of Mr. Harper attempting to remove the child from school using disputed paperwork." Mark's jaw tightened. I was acting in good faith. The judge turned a hard look on him. "Mr. Harper, did you provide the child a second phone to record his mother?" Mark smiled slightly, like the question was ridiculous. "I provided a phone for safety." Avery asked, "Did you instruct him to record her during emotional moments?" Mark's smile held too long. "I encouraged him to keep notes. That's all." Avery nodded once. "Then we can bring the phone in. Because the app labels aren't notes. They're categories like Dana angry and Dana crying." Mark's eyes flickered. Then Avery delivered the trap. "Also, Your Honor, we subpoenaed the notary listed on the guardianship document. They provided a statement this morning." Mark's calm finally faltered. "That's unnecessary." Avery opened a new page and read aloud. "The notary states they did not notarize any document for Dana Harper on September 29th. Silence. The judge stared at Mark. "Mr. Harper?" Mark's attorney shifted. "Your Honor, we need a recess." The judge leaned forward. "No. Mr. Harper can answer." Mark's mask slipped just enough for me to see something ugly underneath. He looked at me, not the judge, not the lawyers, me. And he said, quietly, "You're ruining this for Noah." My blood pounded in my ears. Avery turned to the judge. "We request an immediate order preventing relocation and prohibiting Mr. Harper from unsupervised contact until investigation. The judge exhaled. I'm inclined to grant temporary restrictions. Mark's attorney snapped their laptop closed. Then Mark stood, voice raised, no longer sweet. You think you're saving him? You're making him weak. I saw Noah through the doorway, clinging to Ms. Rivera, hearing his father's voice. And then the judge said the words that made Mark's face go blank. Mr. Harper, I'm ordering the device surrendered to the court today. Mark's eyes flashed. For a second, he looked like someone who'd been caught stealing, furious not at the theft accusation, but at getting caught. Kim tried to recover. Your Honor, the father has acted out of concern. The mother is emotionally. The judge cut them off. I will not hear diagnoses based on covert recordings by a child. Avery slid the second phone forward in an evidence bag. Your Honor, the device is here. We request a forensic review of uploads and recipients. Mark's voice tightened. That's my son's phone. Avery replied. It's your son's surveillance tool. The judge stared at Mark again. Mr. Harper, did you threaten your son with losing you if he told his mother? Mark's mouth opened, then closed. I never threatened him. Ms. Rivera stepped forward. Noah told me he was afraid you'd lose him if he told. Mark snapped his head toward her. You manipulated him. Ms. Rivera's voice stayed calm. He asked me if he was a bad kid. That's not manipulation. That's fear. The judge's gaze hardened. Mr. Harper, your demeanor is deteriorating. I suggest you stop speaking. Mark's mask slipped further. My demeanor? He scoffed. I'm the only one acting rationally. Avery said, rational people don't forge signatures and fabricate service. Kim stood quickly. Objection. The judge raised a hand. Denied. We have a notary statement. Mark's eyes darted to me, then to the phone bag, then to the judge, like he was calculating exits. Then Avery pulled out the residential academy contract Mark had left under my doormat. Your Honor, we also request the court note attempted relocation. Mr. Harper provided a 12-month residential enrollment agreement. Mark laughed sharply. It's a program. For discipline. He needs structure. I couldn't stop myself. He's 12. Mark's eyes locked onto mine with something like contempt. Exactly. The judge's jaw clenched. Mr. Harper, you are not relocating this child. You will not remove him from school. You will not contact him outside the parenting schedule, and you will not discuss this case with him. Mark's attorney whispered urgently at his side. Mark didn't even look at them. He stared at me like I'd stolen something from him. The judge continued. Temporary orders. Noah remains primarily with his mother pending investigation. Father's contact is supervised until the court reviews evidence of coercion and document fraud. The words hit me like oxygen returning to a room I hadn't realized was suffocating. Noah made a small sound behind the door. Relief and fear tangled together. Mark finally spoke, quieter. You're turning my son against me. Avery replied. No, Mark. You did that yourself. As we left the courtroom, Mark brushed past me close enough that I could smell his cologne. He whispered, too softly for anyone else. If I go down, you go down with me. Avery pulled me aside immediately. Dana, do not respond. He's trying to provoke you. I nodded, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Outside, Ms. Rivera brought Noah out. He ran into my arms so hard it knocked the breath out of me. Is it over? He asked. Not over, Avery said gently, kneeling. But you're safe today. Noah's voice trembled. Dad's going to hate me. Ms. Rivera shook her head. Dad's going to face consequences. We walked to the parking lot like survivors walking out of a storm shelter, blinking in bright sunlight. Then my phone buzzed with a new email. Subject line, Notice of Investigation, School District Compliance Office. I opened it with trembling fingers. And my stomach dropped again, because the email wasn't about Mark. It was about me. Allegation of emotional harm. Mandatory review initiated. Avery's face tightened. This is retaliation. I whispered, what does it mean? Avery said, it means Mark didn't just file in court. He filed everywhere. Noah gripped my sleeve. Am I going to be taken? No, I said, voice fierce. Nobody takes you. Avery looked at me. We need to get ahead of this, today. Then Ms. Rivera's phone rang. She listened for 2 seconds, and her face went pale. She covered the receiver and said, Dana, Mark just showed up at Noah's after-school program. My heart slammed against my ribs. Then MS. Rivera said the sentence I'll never forget. He has paperwork again. We didn't even go home. We drove straight to the after-school program. Noah sat rigid, staring out the window like he was trying to leave his body behind. Avery was on speakerphone, directing us like a calm air traffic controller. Do not engage. Show the program staff the court's temporary order. If Mark refuses to leave, call police. When we arrived, Mark was in the lobby, speaking softly to a staff member, smiling like a charity volunteer. He turned when he saw us and lifted his hands. Dana, please. Let's not traumatize Noah. You're the trauma, I said before I could stop myself. Avery's voice barked through the car speaker. Dana, breathe. Show the order. I handed the printed temporary order to the staff. The staff members' eyes widened as they read supervised contact and no unscheduled pickup. Mark's smile slipped. That's temporary. We're clarifying. The staff member looked uncertain. Sir, we can't release him without. Mark cut in smoothly. I understand. I just need to speak to him for 1 minute. He's confused. His mother is upset. Noah pressed against my side, trembling. I don't want to talk. Mark's eyes flicked to Noah, and for a second the charm vanished. Noah, he said, voice tight, don't be dramatic. Avery's voice crackled on speaker. Mark, you are in violation of the order. Mark's head snapped toward the phone. Oh, we're doing this now. Avery replied. We're doing accountability now. The staff member stepped back. Sir, you need to leave. Mark's nostrils flared. Fine. He turned to Noah and forced a smile back onto his face like it was duct-taped. I'll see you soon, buddy. Noah didn't answer. Mark walked out, then paused at the door and glanced back. You can't keep him from me forever, he said. Not to me. To Noah? That was the point. That was the hook he'd buried in my son. Fear of abandonment. Noah's face crumpled. I don't want him to leave forever, he whispered. I knelt beside him. You don't have to decide forever. You just have to be safe. That night, Avery filed a response to the district investigation request and attached evidence. The coercion pattern, MS. Rivera's statement, the forged consent form, the secret recording phone logs. Still, the next day brought consequences. Not just legal, social. 2 parents from Noah's class stopped texting me. A neighbor I'd waved to for years avoided eye contact. Mark had always been better at the polite public version of life. I could feel his narrative spreading like smoke. Unstable mom, emotional scenes, concerned father. Noah refused breakfast. What if everyone thinks I'm lying? I sat beside him. Then we show the truth calmly. We don't fight gossip. We fight facts. Avery arranged for Noah to meet a child therapist, someone neutral, trauma-informed, not connected to Mark's therapist letter. Ms. Rivera attended as support. After the session, the therapist said softly, he's been coached. It's classic. The guilt language. The fear of consequences. The adult phrases. I nodded like I wasn't breaking inside. Then the school district compliance officer called me. MS. Harper, we're required to conduct a home check and interview. Interview Noah? I asked, panic rising. Yes, they said. Separately. Noah overheard and turned white. Separately? Like without you? I felt the room tilt. This is what Mark wanted. To isolate Noah, to speak around me, to frame the story without my presence. Avery spoke firmly. All interviews must be scheduled through counsel, and the child must have an advocate present. The officer paused. We can accommodate. That night, I tucked Noah in like he was 5, not 12. He clutched my hand. Mom, if Dad goes to jail, is it because of me? It's because of him, I said. Because he used you. Noah's voice cracked. I just wanted it to stop. I know, I whispered. It stops now. When I left his room, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. A text popped up with a photo attachment. It was a screenshot of Noah's recording app, new uploads, timestamp today. My blood went cold. The second phone was still in evidence. So how was someone still uploading? Then another message came through. You can't plug every leak, Dana. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Avery answered on the first ring. Dana. I whispered, he's still recording. Even without the phone. Avery went silent, then said, very carefully, Dana, check your son's backpack again. My heart slammed against my ribs, because I already knew what I was going to find. Then I unzipped the smallest pocket and felt a hard plastic shape. It was a tiny black device the size of a coin case, taped inside the lining. A tracker. I sat on the floor with my back against Noah's bed, hands shaking so badly I could barely peel the tape. It wasn't just custody. It was control. Mark wanted to know where Noah was, always. And if I'd missed that, what else had I missed? Avery's voice was calm through the phone. Do not destroy it. Put it in a bag. Photograph it. Then call local police to document. Noah stood in the doorway, eyes wide. Is that because of me? No, I said, swallowing hard. It's because your dad forgot boundaries exist. Noah's face twisted. He said it was so I wouldn't get kidnapped. That's not protection, I said. That's ownership. We filed a police report. The officer was careful, neutral, wrote notes, took photos. Nothing dramatic happened, and somehow that was worse, because this wasn't a movie. It was paperwork and slow systems and a kid trying to breathe. Avery used the tracker discovery to strengthen our request for extended protective orders. The court granted it. Mark couldn't contact Noah directly. All exchanges were suspended until supervised arrangements were set. Noah cried that night. Not because he missed Mark. Because he missed the idea of Mark. I want the dad who used to take me for ice cream, he sobbed. I know, I whispered. I wanted him too. Healing wasn't a montage. It was rules. Avery helped me draft boundaries in writing. No direct communication with Noah. No discussion of legal proceedings with the child. No devices given without mutual consent. Therapy only with approved providers. School communications copied to both parents and counsel. Ms. Rivera coordinated a safety plan with the school. Noah could request her at any time. No pickups unless confirmed in the official system. Any paperwork verified with district legal. Noah started therapy twice a week. The therapist taught him one phrase that became our anchor. I don't have to carry adult problems. At home, I made the kitchen table a no-court zone. We played cards again. We did the trail walks again, slowly, carefully, like revisiting the scene of a fire after the smoke clears. And still, the ache didn't vanish. I'd loved Mark once. I'd trusted him with my signature, my time, my child. That grief didn't disappear just because I was angry. One afternoon, Noah asked, will Dad ever be normal again? I didn't lie. I don't know. But you will be okay either way. A week later, the court's forensic report returned on the guardianship document. Avery called me and put it simply. The notary stamp was used fraudulently. Felony. The word hung in the air like thunder. Mark's attorney requested a settlement meeting. Suddenly. Suddenly Mark wanted peace. Suddenly he wanted cooperation. The word stability showed up again, dressed up as reconciliation. Avery scheduled it in a conference room with glass walls, witnesses, and a recorder. Legal, transparent, accountable. Before we went in, Avery looked at me. Dana, he may try to charm you. He may try to guilt you. Remember, you're not negotiating love. You're negotiating safety. I nodded. Inside, Mark sat with hands folded, face calm, like the courthouse never happened. He looked at me and sighed like I'd inconvenienced him. I never wanted it to get ugly, he said softly. I stared at him. You taped a tracker into our child's backpack. Mark's eyes narrowed just slightly. I did what I had to. Avery leaned forward. Mr. Harper, this is your opportunity to accept terms for supervised contact and an admission of wrongdoing. Mark smiled, small and sharp. Admission? For trying to protect my son? I felt the old impulse to explain myself, to convince him. Then I remembered Noah's face on the trail. I said, you didn't protect him. You used him. Mark's smile vanished. Careful, he whispered. You think you've won, but you don't know what I still have. Avery's eyes sharpened. What do you have, Mark? Mark leaned back, looking pleased with himself again. A story people will believe. I realized then this wasn't about courts for him. It was about narrative, and he was about to tell one. Then Avery slid a final document across the table and said, sign this, now. The document Avery slid across wasn't punishment. It was protection. It spelled out supervised contact conditions, therapy compliance, no devices, no relocation, no school interference, and a clause requiring Mark to communicate only through monitored channels. It also included a separate page, an acknowledgement that Noah had been pressured to record and report. Mark stared at it, jaw tight. This makes me look guilty. Avery didn't blink. Because you are. Mark looked at me like he expected me to soften. Like he expected the old Dana, the one who signed papers in his kitchen without reading, to appear and make this easier. I didn't. I thought about the creek trail. Noah's voice. The way his fear had wrapped around him like a too-tight jacket. I thought about how many nights he'd gone to sleep thinking he had to choose between parents. I leaned forward. If you want a relationship with Noah, you stop using him as evidence. Mark's expression twisted. You're poisoning him against me. I shook my head. You did that the moment you asked him to spy. Silence stretched. Then Mark did something I didn't expect. He didn't explode. He didn't cry. He didn't apologize. He looked down at the paper, picked up the pen, and signed. Hard, angry strokes, like he was signing a receipt for something he hated buying. Avery gathered the pages immediately. Good. This is filed today. Mark stood and adjusted his blazer, mask slipping back into place. Noah will regret this, he murmured. Avery stepped between us. Noah will heal. That's the difference. When we left, my legs felt weak, like my body didn't trust calm yet. I sat in my car and just breathed. That evening, Noah and I walked the same trail again. The creek sounded the same. The air smelled the same. But Noah's shoulders were lower, lighter. He kicked a pebble into the grass and said, I thought telling you would break everything. I swallowed. It broke the lie. Not us. He nodded slowly. I don't want secrets anymore. Me neither, I said. We stopped at the bench where he'd first told me. I sat, and he leaned against my side the way he used to when he was little. If anyone reading this isn't something like this, here's what I learned the hard way. Trust your kid's fear, document everything like you'll need it tomorrow, and get professionals involved before you try to be nice. Nice is what manipulators count on.